Joining me now, my friend Tim Kennedy, UFC, and also, I mean, he's a champ. He's a ranger. He's an author. He's his Scars and Stripes book. He's a television host. He's unapologetically American. He's got a massive knife collection just off camera. He was showing us like machetes and all kinds of really super fun stuff that get your kids some knives. That everybody should have. And he joins me now via Skype. Tim, I mean, it's kind of, lighthearted intro, but I mean, it's really, the reason that I wanted to have you here, I was looking, you were talking about this bus, that 4 busloads of 300 orphans, described as Americans, Christians, just people that have been working with our troops over in Afghanistan, helping our folks, that were turned away during the chaotic withdrawal 30 years ago. It's this Amazon documentary. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this here a year out. There's so much that we still don't know. I'm still hearing stories of rescues that we didn't even know were taking place a year ago at this time. And it's kind of sickening. It's really disturbing that, as Americans, we don't even realize exactly everything that was going on. You were involved in that. I kind of want to get, because you were very, well, let me first ask you about your thoughts. Here we're at August 30th, a year out of the last, day of government involvement in this withdrawal. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about how it all went down and Karine Jean-Pierre's words there?
Man, I try to stay positive. I try to be like this upbeat force for good. But it's really hard right now on this anniversary. On the 26th, we released our documentary, Send Me. And I think I was uncharacteristically quiet is because I didn't have a lot of good things to say.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, watch this. But like my heart was breaking. One of the amazing Marines that died during the bombing, she was with me early that morning with those buses, searching these buses as we were bringing them in. Under Islam, I, as a man, can't touch or, I'm not really supposed to be talking to a woman that I don't know. So, we had these female Marines and soldiers that were there searching all of these busloads of women and children, orphans, entrepreneurs, American allies, Americans, SIV, green card, permanent residents. That's who was on these buses. And as we brought these buses on, this amazing Marine, she's sitting there searching them. A few hours later, she dies at Abbey Gate. Now, you said all of the different rescues that were going on, the groups that were there from Task Force Argo to Allied Rescue, Allied Airlift, Glenn Beck, when, one of your friends was funding planes full of people, the number of heroes that stepped up, like the list just goes on and on. There's special operations group that were like legitimately told not to do things, that were out there doing things to try and help and save people's lives that we can never talk about. I know you guys know who you are, but I want to, the stories of the heroic stories that these men courageously put their lives on the line to save our allies are just, it's unbelievable. And here we are.
Yeah. It's
putting out a Twitter statement.
Yeah. Yeah. So, talking with Tim Kennedy, and the documentary is called Send Me. The trailer, man. And you were right. You could read it on your face. You could see it's heavy stuff, because these are people, when I heard some of the discussion about it, that it seemed kind of lackadaisical, the posturing from our government on this. These were people, as you said, Americans and SIVs and others who helped get our men and women home the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time, however many times, y'all went over there. These were people that were helping and putting their families on the line too and getting you home. And it's shocking, and we thought it's not going to happen again. And now, just the other day, was reading about Baghdad, the embassy in Baghdad. And it seems like deja vu here a year later. I mean, a year later, and we're rescuing people from the embassy in Baghdad. Have we learned nothing?
I thought that was a news report that was from like 2002, 2003. No, that was today when we're rescuing people from our own embassy yet again. The American government turned the airport in Kabul into a big embassy. And, if this was not the evacuation effort that I think a lot of people thought what was going on, like this was a big military organized, structured, stable, secure type of evacuation. Department of State was in control. And if you know anything about the Department of State, if you've ever worked with the Department of State, if you've ever tried to like get a visa, or you've ever tried to, I mean, heaven forbid, you actually try to become an American citizen, how, wrought it is with broken and bureaucratic process. Well, imagine being on the ground and that there's tens of thousands of people in front of you, and the Taliban is behind you, and they're trying to kill you because you worked with Americans and you were waiting for Department of State to try and help you. Man, it is a dire situation.
Talking with Tim Kennedy, who was there on the ground helping people to evacuate out of the Hamid Karzai airport there in Kabul. And this one colonel that was discussed, and I only want to go as far as you want to go into it, but I mean, because you were saying that there were some, because I know that there were some folks, special forces over there, that were told not to, and they were like, we're going to help because these people helped make this operation successful, or they, were an important part of this mission. Is 4 busloads of people? I don't know how you could turn 4 busloads of people away, knowing who they are, knowing that you just got to get to the airport. You get into the airport, maybe get on a plane, and then you're okay. Isn't there so obviously it seems so chaotic. Surely he could have had some discretion there.
I try to really show grace. Ends of wars are never nice. And I use Pat Tillman as a great example. War is hell. Heroes step up and heroes do heroic things, and bad things happen at war. That's what happens at war. It's the worst thing that humans can do to each other. I'm not going to, now a year later, with really clear, it's very, very clear that he made a bad decision, and a decision that cost people's lives, but that Monday morning quarterbacking where you go back and look, right, really clear now there. We were just trying to save as many people as we can. So we actually got 4 buses on that he kicked off. We had 7 buses. We had 7 buses outside that gate, 7. And packed on those Christians, orphans, Americans, permanent residents, SIV, special immigration visas, green card holders. I mean, that's who was on these buses. They had been Department of State approved, Department of Defense approved. We also had 3 letter agencies that were giving us names that we put on our lists that we then confirmed and manifested via DOD and DOS. That's who was on these buses. There's no question about who was on there. Once we got 4 of those 7 buses on and we were searching them, we actually did a little sneaky sleight of hand thing. We got one of those buses on. He ultimately kicked off the rest to include, and then never let in the other 3 that we almost got on. So it was because it was in the final hours. We knew that and maybe this was a mistake for us strategically. We were trying to do these last ditch efforts to really bring in the must get on base type people. And, that my hat is still off to all of the men and women that were there, putting their lives on the line to try and rescue people. Those men and women in uniform that were up on those walls, that were reaching down and grabbing babies. You just flat out are heroes. I love you to death. Thank you.
We're talking with Tim Kennedy, and I wanted to get, I just can't, we've talked about this before, the idea that of moving everything from, into Kabul, into the airport there, as opposed to where the base was, which seemed like a much more protected position, and, out of the, the urban conflict, et cetera, because then you had the Taliban rolling in. And of course, now they say that they're out of money and they need all kinds of stuff. I mean, shocker. But it seems like, I don't know how to describe it. You have to even get to the airport. You have to even get to the gates. You have to get through these city streets that are run by Taliban. Tell me a little bit about how, I can't even imagine how to even operate in that kind of environment, and having to make those quick decisions, and having really falling back onto your highest level of training to make those snap decisions, looking at, yes, I've worked with this person's okay, this person told me, give people a little bit of an idea how insanely chaotic it was and dangerous, and you're trying to process all this.
Yeah. First I'm going to have to just talk about the team, with Sean G, it's a code name, but Sea Spray, and and Dave Johnson. That was our 4-man team that was on the ground. Those men are incredible. They are so wicked smart. And Sean G and C Spray were doing everything. They were like bending time. The things that they could do, operating 6 different phones at the same time. They're on WhatsApp. They're on Signal. They're on Telegram. They're texting with groups of Afghans and coordinating in that soft model, like by, with, and through, using them as force multipliers, having them do link ups in towns for us, bringing them to locations where then we would go meet up with them. It was just wild how these men operated at such a high level. Truly the best and brightest men arguably maybe even walk the face of the planet. I am just astounded at how proficient these men were on the ground. And, we had to circumnavigate these Taliban positions because at every single intersection, you had a Taliban checkpoint. You had roaming checkpoints, like these roaming little groups, posses of Taliban that were trying to find any group that was trying to make it toward the airport. And if they interdicted you, they'd check your documents. Lo and behold, you're an SIV or you're a green card, or, heaven forbid, you're an American. They'll just tear up your passport right there, throw it in the trash. Now you're screwed. You can't get on the base. I'm not going to bring you on the base unless you have your documents. Even if you sent me your digital documents, I still have to physically see the real ones to make sure I have the right person with that match the right digital documents that's at the right place at the right time with the right far recognition signal, near recognition signal to ensure that you are the right person that the Department of Defense, the Department of State approved to come on base. Dude, it was impossible. C. Spray and Sean G, heroes.
That is amazing. Talking with Tim Kennedy, this documentary that he was part of, Send Me, I think you absolutely have to watch it. And everything that you did, and you're one of those people, who deserves a lot of praise as well. And I know that's not why you did it. You saw a need and you filled a need, and that's why you and so many others acted and went over and did what you did. Nobody asked you to do it, and you did it anyway, and God love you for it. Here we are, August 30th. Last question for you. What was the difference in knowing the last government plane is wheels up and that's it? That's the last United States involvement. And now it's all private individuals and groups left.
So on the 26th, when the bomb went off, we knew that was going to be the end of us being able to have the freedom of movement to operate significantly and successfully.
Because there was, not to interrupt, because there was like not a truce, I don't want to say that, but some weird understanding between U.S. government and Taliban, like don't kill Americans for right now, kind of.
Kill, but definitely that by no means did the Taliban allow them to come on. So even though the Taliban weren't killing Americans, it was like a momentary stand down, a momentary pause. They were still preventing them from getting on base. So on the 26th, the bomb goes off, and we are still getting tens of thousands of emails and text messages and WhatsApps and signals of allies asking for, and Americans asking to be evacuated. And we knew that we were going to be combat ineffective from the bomb on. So Sean Gabler very wisely tells Sarah Verardo, he says, keep documenting, keep building those lists. And Sarah's like, well, why are we doing that? He's like, so that we know who we left behind. So we know, so we can document the tens of thousands of our allies and our Americans that we just left there. And I get goosebumps. It breaks my heart to say it. Like the callousness of that beautiful man's soul to know the catastrophic failure that we were then, that was the point. That was the lever. That was the end of our successful operations on the ground. And from that day to today, we've moved another 5,000 people because of those lists. Yeah. From that day to today in that year, 12,000 in 10 days, another 5,000 in the past year. But I'll tell you, that list has tens of thousands of people's names on them. And I bet you half of them are dead now.
Wow.
That's where we are.
God bless you for what you've done. Tim Kennedy, his book, Scars and Stripes. And here we're talking a year on now, officially, from the withdrawal out of Afghanistan. And remembering, I think it's important to remember what happened, especially now as we're looking at what's going on in the Green Zone in Baghdad and elsewhere. God bless you for what you did. I know you don't include yourself in it. You don't go looking for praise, but man, if anybody deserves it, you do, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks.
God love you.
You're the best.